Hello everyone, and thanks for joining me here. In this example, we're going to look at another example to calculate IRR. This one says a new corporate bond was initially sold by a stockbroker to an investor for $1,000. The issuing corporation promised to pay the bondholder $40 interest on the $1,000 face value of the bond every 6 months, and to repay the $1,000 at the end of 10 years. So if this bondholder keeps the bond for 10 years, he's going to get the $1,000 back, plus every 6 months he's getting $40. But after 1 year, the bond was sold by the original buyer for $950. So the original buyer decided to sell the bond to another person for a little lower than its face value, $950 here. Part A, what rate of return did the original buyer receive on his investment? And Part B, what rate of return the new buyer expect to receive if he keeps the bond for its remaining 9-year life? So here for Part A, we would have to look at the perspective of the original buyer. He bought the bond for $1,000. He kept it for 1 year, which is 2 periods of 6 months. So he received 2 payments of $40, and then he sold it for $950. So let's draw the cash flow for that. Okay, here's the cash flow: $1,000, 2 receipts of $40, and then $950 at the end of first year or the second period. Each period here is 6 months. So we want to calculate the rate of return. Rate of return is the percentage that makes the present worth equal to 0. So the present worth that we have here is negative $1,000 plus $40 times P given A, some percentage I star, and 2 periods, plus $950 times P given F, some percentage, and then 2 periods. If you try different I values here, or solve this mathematically using the P given A, P given F formula, you would see that at 1.5%, and that's just a guesstimate at this point for me, that this present worth is equal to 0 approximately. What you can do again is to try a percentage that gives you present worth of positive, and then try another percentage that gives you present worth of negative, and then do the linear interpolation, and you will see that the IRR, or the percentage that gives you present worth of equal to 0, is about 1.5%. But keep this in mind that this IRR is IRR of 6 months, because these periods here that we mentioned, 2 periods, is each period is 6 months. So IRR of 6 months is 1.5%. But the IRR that we are looking for is IRR of yearly or annual. And in order to calculate that, we need to calculate the effective interest rate, because the 40% that he received at the end of the 6 months, he gained interest on that in the next 6 months. So you need to use the effective interest rate formula, which is 1 plus R over M to M minus 1, right? And in this case, R over M is 1.5%. So that is equal to 1 plus 0.015 squared, that is M, because there are 2 periods in 1 year, minus 1, and that is 3.02%. So a little over 3% is the rate of return of the original buyer here. For part B, we want to calculate the same thing, rate of return, but for the new buyer. So let's look at the investment from the perspective of this new buyer. This new buyer bought the bond for $950, kept it for 9 years, which means 18 periods, and every period he received $40, and at the end of the 18th period, he will give it back to the bond corporation for $1,000. So let's draw all of that on the cash flow. So here is the cash flow for the second buyer, $950. He bought it. He received $40 each period. After 18 periods, he sold it for $1,000. So present worth, or net present worth of this investment is negative $950 plus $40 times P given A at some percentage, I star, 18 period, plus $1,000 times P given F, again, some I star, 18 period. And if we set that equal to 0, and solve for I, you can do that again mathematically by replacing the factors with their formulas, or trying different i's here in order to get a positive net present worth and a negative net present worth and do the linear interpolation. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate the present worth at 5%, and if I do that and get these values from the table, I'll get negative 66.90, and that's a negative net present worth. And if I try 4% and do the same calculations, again I need to get these factors for 4%, I'll get positive 49.96. And now I can do the linear interpolation between 5% and 4%. IRR of 6 months, again, would be equal to 4.43%. That's an approximation using the linear interpolation. Now, again, I need to convert this IRR to a yearly IRR or annual IRR. So IRR of annual is equal to, again, following the effective interest rate formula here, would be 1 plus 0.0443 to 2, and that 2 is the number of sub-periods per year. And here, because everything is 6-month periods, we have 2 periods per year. Minus 1, that will give me 9.05%. And that is the rate of return of the second buyer of the bond, which is quite different from the rate of return of the first buyer.